This hat is ridiculous. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Matt, and today's topic is going to be discovering and exploring the wide variety ideas of the ancient megalithic architectures, master builders of deep antiquity. And firsthand, I'd like to say that I'm very open-minded, and it is a good idea to challenge your own thoughts and ideas every once in a while. You kind of have to keep your ego in check. But I like to give thanks and give credit to a few people. Brian Forrester is a author and researcher of these sorts of things. You can find his channel on YouTube, Brian Forrester, and Ben from Uncharted X. It is absolutely incredible work. And go check those guys out and subscribe. If you're interested in this sort of thing, you should go over there. And it seems to be that the current academic explanation of our history is, I'm not going to just say, oh, it's all wrong. It needs to be, but it definitely needs to be updated. I don't want to say rewritten. It seems like a phrase that I hear a lot. You know, it doesn't need to be rewritten. We know a lot. We know a lot about the past which is nothing, the past 5,000-6,000 years. But the deeper and deeper it goes back, the more muddy the waters get, because people have only been documenting and writing things down for 6,000, say, years. So there's always room for improvement, and we'll never truly know. So don't ever let yourself get caught in that trap. Or, well, I know. The Egyptians, they built the pyramids, and we know they did it because, well, we really don't know why. Because we found a statue of a pharaoh close by, or you know, just either the tools that were used to make cut in particular, large granite, basalt, very hard stone. The tools that we know that were used are not in the archaeological record whatsoever. The people who did this were using very large saws, with incredible pressure, because when you actually study and look at the striations and the cut marks left in some of these stones that are just laying about, it's obvious that they're machining tools. There's no doubt about it. And it's anybody who disagrees that it's cool, but it's pretty much becoming outdated information that copper chisels. I mean, any person who's ever tried something, like, you can't use a softer material to cut. Like, the material that you're actually trying to cut is harder than what you're using to cut it with. Copper tools. Either the Egyptians had some secret stuff that was never found. I mean, that's always a good question, but it's thick as mysteries. Where are the tools? Where are the tools at? It's a good question to ask, and you can kind of explain that in a good path, a few certain ways, but there's no way that I'm going to be brutally honest here, but anybody with a brainstem and a sense of just how physical things are created, you cannot cut huge granite blocks. I mean, the stages in the craftsmanship and the expertise in doing a project like this splits up in a few different categories. But to quarry it, cut it out, move it, get it to the site, because most often they're hundreds of miles away. As these people search 500 miles away for red granite, it was moved to the site, and it was shaped. This is a totally different expertise, and it lifted up in hundreds of feet up in the air perfectly, like a little kid playing with blocks. I don't think it was magic. I don't think it was telepathy, although that would be cool. It's pretty obvious that something really significant in the abilities of ancient peoples is way different than what the academic even talks about. A lot of it, they just kind of sweep it under the rug, and I'm not trying to say aliens came down and did it, but it's you need to recognize the significance of some of these. First of all, why would you do something like that? Why would you do something so monumentally difficult? yes, you could say that people didn't have, that was their jobs at the time, and it was actually, when the Great Pyramid was supposedly built, there was no evidence of war. It was actually a great time of prosperity, which is unlike the human. So, I mean, you're going to get people doing things like that, building temples and things like that, because it gives the people something to do. But there are things in Egypt and Peru, it's like they did it the most difficult way possible, almost to say that, look what we can do. Look at what we can do, look at our understanding of physics and matter itself. And another thing I'd like to point out is it's all over the planet. I don't know if it's every continent, but almost every continent, or many, many continents all around the globe, there is what you would call megalithic architecture, and it's always much older than, the Incas, for example, in Peru are accredited like all the building sites around, and the Incas weren't even around that long. And the royal people of the Incas, not the population, but the royal family was the Incas. So, almost what you find every single place is there's an abandoned site in ruins, and the people wandering around discover it, and they say, we're going to stay here and we're going to rebuild. It happened. It's not, if you look up Wikipedia and listen to like a mainstream archaeologist, they're not going to be saying this, but Brian Forster is the man. And you don't want to listen to what they say is a bunch of white invaders coming in and making up your history. And the archaeologists, not all of them, but a lot of them, they just completely ignore what the local population even say about, like, you would think that the people that live there now would have some good information. They would have the oral traditions, and these white invaders come in and just make up stories, and it's very disrespectful and just ridiculous that it's accepted now. But what would drive any civilization, and we have to call it a civilization, what would drive a civilization to do something like that? You go inside the large granite room referred to as the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, which that's what the Arabics called it. We don't know what it was originally called with any of this stuff. We don't know what it was originally called, but the all large granite room that I have to go, but you see videos of people going in, and the video doesn't do it any justice than being there in person. It's the sound is really obvious. The echo and the reverberation in these rooms is, they were doing that on purpose. That's why they went 500 miles away to get granite. And it's like exactly what these things are. There's a lot of theories. Did it create energy? Very possible. Was it used to communicate? Was it used to create a natural DMT state? And thus, DMT, you supposedly come in contact with entities, and they show you stuff for whatever reason. They're excited that you're there, and they want to show you things. And if you don't die by death by astonishment, then they try to show you just objects that are shifting and made out of color and light, and just, could it be possible that you can naturally, instead of sitting and meditating and practicing for your whole life or taking psychedelics, could you create a structure where you can just go in there and you'd have to go in with a group of people. I'm sure that one person, you go in there and you chant Om. These rooms, and the Great Pyramid in particular, each pyramid is different, and there's different styles of pyramids. But the Great Pyramid of Egypt, the King's Chamber, it's tuned to a specific frequency, a specific note, if you will. Like, what? Like, why? I think Brian Forster pointed out that it was A sharp. A sharp was the sound that the room seemed to like the most, and if he gave an example of many people in there doing and they hit a certain note, the sound like intensifies by like 1,000. So I don't know exactly what. I have theories, but You find it all around the world. You find them all around the world. You find them in Egypt. You find, Egypt. There's tons and tons of pyramids, different styles. But it seems like the oldest stuff is always the best, the more skilled, and the newer stuff that comes later is a decline. So there's this big gap of ability, just ability to be able to cut and move stone. Seemingly like I said, like you're a kid playing with blocks. It's fascinating. Why do you find pyramids all around the world? In Japan, there's a bunch of megalithic stones that are shaped like polished and perfectly cut into weird abstract shapes, but they're polished to be shiny. And one was like in the middle of like a bamboo forest or something. It's a rock that's just. But it's got right angles. I can't remember the shape, but it's like a weird right-angled shape with this, some simple design, shiny, despite being left out in the middle of nowhere in the elements. It still holds its shine. Weird stuff, man. Weird stuff. The Serapeum underground in I think it's Saqqara in Egypt. These large black boxes that are gigantic. They're perfectly cut, obviously machined. 100%. They're shined to like a mirror, and just why would you do something like that? And I think it goes to show that the decline of the human story. And I'm going to try to add some pictures and do a little bit more of a presentation with my my content. But I'm going to leave it there. And thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. And if you're wondering, this crazy hat. Or it's not a wig, it's a Russian, it's called a papaka, or a Dagestani hat in the winter because it's cold as shit. So this is called a papaka. UFC lightweight champion of the world, completely undefeated, Khabib Nurmagomedov coined this, so it's kind of like a tip to him. Plus it's a crazy looking wig. So I encourage everyone to keep an open mind and follow your heart, as corny as that sounds, and be true to yourself, and be a loving, caring person, and just live your life.